Hey everyone, Steve here. I have gotten a couple of people hitting me up asking for trick tips on Slappy crooked grinds. They've seen the frontside video, they want to know how to do backside or just Slappy crooks. And so I'm going to put together this video. Originally I hadn't done that because there's quite a few Slappy crook videos on YouTube anyway, and I figured I didn't need to be redundant, but I also get that sometimes it can be helpful to have a few different people's perspectives on different trick tips. So I'm going to do a Slappy crook tutorial today, and hopefully it answers some of your questions. So before I get into the specifics of Slappy crooks, I just want to point out that it is only called Slappy crooks. There is no need to put the word backside in front of it at all. There are a couple of tricks in skateboarding that you don't need to label as frontside or backside. A crooked grind is definitely one of them. When you say crooked grind, people who skate on a regular basis know that it's backside. Same is true with board slides, nose slides. Trying to think of other tricks that are like that, but feeble grinds is another one. But there are a lot of tricks where you just drop the directional terminology depending on what trick it is, and so crooked grinds are definitely one of those. So when you see trick tips and it's just crooked grind or Slappy crooked grind, you know that it's referring to the backside version. If it's frontside, it will say frontside. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let me get right into the trick tip. So like most Slappy trick tips, foot placement is a huge part of being able to do the trick. With this particular one, you're going to want to really stay balanced over the bolts. You're not going to want to put like a whole lot of weight on one side of the rail or another side. It's going to be pretty even throughout the board. And when you roll up to the trick, or when you roll up to the curb to get into the trick, your feet are going to want to look roughly like this. I've got my front foot over here, and my front foot is going to be on the nose. You can see, I can see all four bolts. I have my heel in the pocket, and then I have my toes kind of angled across the nose, hanging off the edge on this rail. So heel over the side, as you can see right there. The back foot is really just along for the ride. Now when you get into locking into the crooked grind, you are going to have to use your toes and your heels to shift your weight around, but that back foot is not going to play a huge role in this particular trick. So what I typically do with mine is I have my foot completely over the bolts for stability, toe hanging off the edge just a little bit, and heel hanging off the other edge or the other rail, but pretty evenly spaced. When I roll up to the curb, I'm gonna hit it at a 45-degree angle. I could do a little bit less if I wanted. Typically don't want to do more, just because you're not really gonna get that grind if you're going at like a complete 90-degree angle. So really target for 45. And what you're going to do with this trick when you're rolling up to that curb is you're going to really right as you're about to hit it, you're going to shift a ton of weight onto your toes so that you get right up into it. So with my I'll put the camera down so that you can see this in action, but when I'm ready to hit the curb, what I'm really doing here is I'm kind of forcing my wheels to go sideways a bit, so you can see how those shift over relative to the board. I'm forcing my wheels to go a bit more sideways by putting weight on my toes, and what that will do is it'll actually cause the wheel near my heel to lift up. And in action, as we're getting really close here, and let me drop the camera a little bit, my one wheel is going to be my wheel towards the front of my body is going to be curving a little bit towards the back of the board, and then my other wheel on the front truck is going to start lifting up. And what I really want to have happen is I want to have that wheel lift up, and then I start catching the edge of the curb. So you see where that truck is. And this will make more sense when I actually get into the specifics of this trick and show it in action. But really, again, that weight shift at the last second when I'm trying to get up onto the curb is really what makes the difference for this particular trick. So I'm going to show this in action, and that will be hopefully what makes the most sense for you guys. All right, now getting out of the Slappy crooks can be a little bit challenging for some people because, you know, anytime you're balancing on your nose or your front truck, it's not as natural of a movement to just get back out onto the ground, particularly when you're not able to ride off the end of something. So, in order to get off of this, I'm going to shift my weight back onto my back truck and just kind of fall off the side. And one thing that you can kind of practice in doing this is just as you're going at an angle, right as you're dropping down, shift your front foot forward in front of you to kind of do like a little bit of a shuffle. So you're almost doing like a kind of a tic-tac out of it. But the faster you do that, the more natural the movement will feel, and you're going to be able to come out of it a lot easier. The other thing that you can do is just go right into a revert, or basically a nollie frontside 180 out of it, and that will make it easier to roll away, and I'll demonstrate what that looks like. So that's really it for Slappy crooks. They're not a terribly difficult trick to learn, but I do get that they're frustrating. It took me a little bit of time to just figure it out, but once you get that weight shift right as you hit the curb down, you're gonna find that you get into it, and then it's just a matter of holding it, grinding it across. Now, I will say, finding a curb or skating a curb that is really well grounded and waxed up, like you can see how black this is from my hours and hours of skating it, that really goes a long way. If you're dealing with a curb that's brand new, you're going to want to rub brick that, or like angle grind it down to get it really smooth. Put some clear coat or enamel on it, and then wax it, and then it'll start becoming a lot easier to skate. But the other thing I would say is the height of the curb really doesn't matter. If you're trying to skate something that's a bit taller, you're just gonna have to get used to doing a little bit of a manual first before you actually get into the Slappy crook. But I've seen people do this trick on curbs that are over a foot tall. So it's very doable. You just have to, again, get used to that weight shift. Now, if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. If this video isn't as helpful as I'm hoping it will be, I'll try to do another one, or maybe do a short to answer some of those questions. But thank you for watching, and enjoy your Slappy skating.